Managing people in the NHS is a rewarding but sometimes challenging role. Wherever you work, and whether you're supervising a team of 2 or 200, ensuring patient safety should be everyone's priority. So it's important you respond to any concern raised by your team.
Staff of all grades are the eyes and ears of the NHS when it comes to patient safety. If somebody comes to you with a safety concern, no matter who they are, you must respond in an appropriate, professional and understanding manner.
When it comes to dealing with concerns, every situation will require a different response depending on the nature of the concern and on the level of risk to the patient. Part of your role as a line manager is to respond positively when concerns are raised and to ensure you manage the expectations of all those involved in the process. David is a student nurse who's working with Wendy Adamson, an experienced community nurse. He's noticed she's not washing her hands after visits.
It's just we're told at uni we should wash our hands before and after every visit.
I've only checked a few dressings today.
Not satisfied with Wendy's dismissal of his query, David decides to raise his concerns with his tutor, Anita Ward. As a result, Anita has asked to see David.
Take a seat. Thanks so much for coming in. I know it's a busy time for you. Don't worry, you've done exactly the right thing coming to talk to me. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is just find out a bit more about your concerns. You said you were worried Wendy's not washing her hands enough?
Well, yeah. Or even using hand gel. She just doesn't wash her hands at all most of the time. Let alone demonstrate best practice in hand washing that we keep being reminded about at college. She's been great with me. I feel really bad.
David, you've done exactly the right thing.
Yes, but I'm worried about what she's going to say when she finds out I've spoken to you.
I understand why you might feel uncomfortable. Listen, I can leave your name out of things at this stage, but the reality is Wendy may well realise that it's you who's raised a concern because we will need to talk to her. However, like I said, you've done the right thing and we won't tolerate any bullying or victimisation. If we find there is a problem, I'd hope we could resolve it in a positive way with Wendy. Okay?
Yeah.
So, are you happy for me to get some details from you and then we can talk about where we go from here?
Okay, sure.
Raising a concern can be daunting, no matter how experienced you are. So it's important that you listen carefully, respond in a positive way, and try to alleviate anxieties as much as possible. You should respect a colleague's wish for confidentiality. However, it's also important to explain circumstances where that confidentiality could be compromised. For example, if it's obvious who's raised the concern, or if the case is later subject to a tribunal or legal proceedings.
Right, David. Thanks for that. You okay?
Yep.
I'm going to ask you to leave this with me, but I will call you tomorrow to follow this up.
Okay.
Is 4 o'clock okay?
Yeah, sure.
When are you next due to work with Wendy?
Not till next week. What's going to happen to her?
Well, the first thing I need to do is speak to her line manager, and we'll take it from there. They'll let me know what will happen next, and I'll keep you informed. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any worries about working with Wendy?
Can I think about it?
Of course, well, we'll speak tomorrow. But will you call me if you're worried about anything in the meantime?
Of course. Thank you, Anita.
Thanks, David. We'll speak tomorrow.
See you.
Bye.
Part of treating all parties fairly when concerns are raised is about setting out and sticking to clear timelines. Anita has told David she'll update him within the next 24 hours, so it's important she progresses his concern within that time frame. Of course, responding to concerns can be difficult for managers themselves. It's important you maintain your professionalism, highlighting any conflicts of interest and, if necessary, handing the concern over to someone else.
Obviously, my student's a bit anxious about this, so I'd like to let them know how I should respond.
Well, I need to have a word with Wendy and hear what she's got to say first of all, and then we can consider what we do next.
Sure, but there's just one more thing. Wendy and I go back a long way. We train together. So there's a bit of a conflict of interest for me with this one, really. Just doesn't sound like her. I'm really surprised.
Oh, of course. Well, why don't you let me have a conversation with her as her line manager? You can be assured I'll investigate this fairly and professionally. And I think at this stage it will mean, well, an informal chat with her. It may be we can deal with this through some additional training if necessary. But let's hear what she's got to say about it first. And you've done the right thing raising it. And if you have any difficulties, you must let me know and we'll work them through. When did you say you talked to the student?
4 tomorrow.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Wendy first thing tomorrow then and let you know in time for your call at 4.
Thanks, and will you let me know what Wendy says? It's a tricky one, this.
Sure. And I completely understand this is putting you in a difficult position. But you've done the right thing. Okay, well, I'll speak to you tomorrow morning. And thanks again, Anita.
Thanks, Jane.
It's not easy, but Anita has put her professional responsibility ahead of her personal relationship here. By adopting a non-judgmental attitude, respecting David's wish for confidentiality, and setting out clear timetables, both she and Wendy's line manager Jane are ensuring all parties are treated fairly. Most importantly, they're taking steps to ensure that patient safety isn't compromised further. Jane has suggested an informal response at this stage, which may be appropriate to deal with this concern. However, there are times when a more formal response is required. In this scenario, surgeon Helen Jarvis has asked her registrar Ahmed to prepare for a busy day in theatre.
Look, the ward round's running over here, it's just manic.
Take the briefing, will you?
However, in her absence from the briefing, the list order changes. In her haste, she fails to make the proper checks and is only prevented from carrying out the wrong procedure when a junior doctor, Hannah Wade, speaks up.
Okay, scalpel, please.
No, this is Mrs. K.
I thought Mrs. Saunders was first on.
After surgery, the team has an informal discussion about making sure the mistake doesn't happen again. However, Hannah and Ahmed are worried the system is flawed. They decide to take their concerns to the hospital's speak-up guardian rather than to their line manager, as they're worried about the implications of reporting the incident. 4 weeks later, they're called to a second meeting with her and the theatre superintendent to hear how the investigation's progressing.
Hi guys, I'm Fiona, Hannah, Ahmed. I said 4 weeks ago we'd meet today to discuss the concerns you had about pre-operative checks. Once again, thanks very much for coming to me about this, and in particular to yourself, Hannah, for speaking up when you did. We can't compromise patient safety at all on these matters. The Theatre Management Committee has carried out a full investigation into the incident. Thanks very much for your written reports. I've also got reports from the lead nurses in every theatre about their procedures. And to be honest with you, they're just not robust enough and open to interpretation. There's too much variance across the surgical teams. And to be quite frank with you, I'm almost surprised this hasn't happened before.
So, what now?
Don't worry, the senior theatre staff share your concerns and they're keen to improve things. With this in mind, the Theatre Management Committee has set up new standardised guidelines for pre-operative checks.
The concept of a formal investigation can be a difficult one for line managers, but it may be necessary, particularly if there's been a serious risk to patient safety. You should ensure you keep full written records of the entire process. It's also important you seek advice and support should you feel you need it. Of course, formal investigations are also daunting for those people who've raised the concern, who may worry they've initiated something bigger than they intended. You can prevent them from feeling isolated by providing them with regular feedback, sticking to agreed timetables, and showing them that appropriate action is being taken. Most importantly, it's vital they remain comfortable in their working environment and are offered appropriate support to do so.
So when will the new procedures be implemented?
They were approved by the board on Monday and will be formally announcing things tomorrow. But the clinical leads and the lead nurses have already been briefed, so you should find that a cultural change starts to filter through.
Yes, Mrs. Jarvis was very thorough yesterday before every procedure.
That's good to know. On that subject, it shouldn't be the case, but I just wanted to make sure that you hadn't received any negative treatment from your colleagues since we last spoke.
No, it was a bit weird in surgery the week after.
Yeah.
But we were all a bit shaken up as to what might have happened. But
Yeah.
no, it's been fine.
Good. And are you happy with everything we've spoken about today?
Yes.
Good. As you know, Fiona, our Speak Up Guardian, is always available. But I wanted you to know that my door is always open. So I really appreciate your input on this.
Well, after all, patient safety is the most important thing.
You're absolutely right.